Desert Storm, the creation of the PGA, the creation of Wikipedia. So many things happening. It could only mean one thing. If Jim Ward is in the studio, coming up next, This Week in History.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Love it.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
This is the Middle Country Public Library podcast. Sal DiVincenzo here with Jim Ward, and it's This Week in History.
Yes.
So, as we usually do this, I don't know what you're going to talk about, except for those three things that I mentioned at the beginning.
Yep. He needed something as a teaser.
I needed something as a teaser. Yeah, we got to tease this up now. So you're going to go through it. You're going to talk about it.
Yep.
And see what happened this week, the week that you're watching this episode, in history.
January 12th to January 18th.
Very good.
Correct.
All right. So let us begin.
Here we go.
What you got for us, Jim?
All right. January 12th, 1904, Henry Ford sets a land speed record of 91.37 miles per hour on the frozen surface of Michigan's Lake St. Clair.
Okay.
He was driving a four-wheel vehicle dubbed the 999.
Nice.
With a wooden chassis, but no body or hood.
Okay.
Ford's record was broken within a month at Ormond Beach, Florida, by a driver named, another famous one, William K. Vanderbilt. There it is, Vanderbilt. Even so, the publicity surrounding Ford's achievement was so important to the auto pioneer, who in June of the previous year incorporated the Ford Motor Company.
Oh, there you go.
And that would eventually, of course, become one of the big three in the auto industry.
Interesting how a record back then, it was like 91?
91.37.
0.37, and that's basically the left-hand lane on the expressway.
Yeah, exactly. They're going all kinds of speeds out there. We don't know what's going on.
What's going on, yeah.
So that was that. And then we have a bunch of firsts I noticed here.
Yes, many firsts.
January 12th, 1932, Hattie W. Caraway, a Democrat from Arkansas, was appointed to the U.S. Senate to fill the term of her deceased husband.
Okay.
Later in the year, she became the first woman elected to the Senate.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
1932.
There you go.
January 12th, 1969, at the Orange Bowl in Miami, which I thought that was called the Super Bowl at the time. I don't know. But the New York Jets of the American Football League defeat the NFL's Baltimore Colts 16-7 in Super Bowl III, a result considered one of the biggest upsets in sports history. The Jets were the underdog. They were an 18-point underdog.
Okay.
But Joe Namath guaranteed victory.
This is Joe Namath, yeah.
And they ended up winning Super Bowl III.
The score is kind of low.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know, but that sounds like it wasn't a very exciting game. Well, it was exciting, obviously, because it was an
tight.
upset.
Yeah.
But still, I think we're used to nowadays, a really great game is like, 32, 24, that kind of thing. Yeah, so.
But I mean, it still was, what were they? I guess they were within margin somewhat.
Yeah.
So
okay.
But it must have been, I don't know.
So what? So it's 16-7?
16-7.
So it's one touchdown, and then it's two touchdowns.
Maybe a field goal, or
Yeah, it could be a couple field goals, right? Or it could be a touchdown and was a safety. Is 2 points?
Safety.
A safety. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not football. I'm more hockey. But
I'm not football either. I'm just talking out of my butt right now.
So then, of course, as you mentioned in the opening, January 12th, 1991, Congress authorized President George Bush to use military force against Iraq following its invasion of Kuwait. Yeah. So that would eventually become Operation Desert Storm. Yeah. Initially, before that, it was Operation Desert Shield. And eventually, when they were given the go, it turned into Desert Storm.
And you said 1991. 91. So that was my senior year in high school. Wow. And I remember when this happened because I was in science class when like the word got out in the school that we were going to war.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that wild?
It's wild, yeah.
Like 34 years ago?
I just remember like on the radio.
Yeah.
It was dark. everybody was worried about our troops, and they kept playing, I'm proud to be an American. They would play that. They were playing like all these very patriotic songs and like sad, like not sad songs, but like, songs for the time. And I imagine what it was like during like World War II.
Yeah, worrying
that
about
was like,
the soldiers.
The soldiers and whatnot. Yeah, so my generation, and, you were a little young and
what was I,
nothing.
9, 8?
Yeah. Yeah, so we got that.
But I do remember we had a girl in school, her brother, I think, had served during it. And this was like later on. He came in and like gave a talk. And
wow, okay.
He, like gave us like little pieces of candy. I guess like the type of military candy.
The rationed
candy.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool to see. Yeah. But
Iraqi candy.
No, it was like M&M type candy, but it wasn't M&M. It was like generic M&M.
Generic, yeah. Army brand.
Exactly.
Marine brand, yeah.
So here we go. January 12th, 2010, Haiti is devastated by a massive earthquake. It drew an outpouring of support from around the globe, but the small nation has yet to fully recover. It struck just before 5 p.m. The tremor was felt as far away as Cuba and Venezuela, but the epicenter of the 7.0 magnitude quake was just 16 miles away from Port-au-Prince. Is that how you say it?
Port-au-Prince, yeah.
8 aftershocks followed the same day, and at least 52 were recorded in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. And the human toll, unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, they say estimates are around 40 to 50,000.
But it's probably more than that.
Yeah. Well, it says the Haitian government estimated that more than 316,000 people died. You can't even fathom such numbers. You can't wrap
your head around it.
And it says something approaching 1 million people were displaced.
It's affected by,
It's so sad.
It is sad, and it's crazy to think, because it feels like that was such a long time ago, but really not 15 years.
No.
Right?
2010 doesn't feel like 15 years to me.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, so very sad. Yeah. Let's move on to January 13th, 1941. James Joyce, widely regarded as Ireland's greatest author, dies in Zurich, Switzerland at the age of 58. One of the most brilliant and daring writers of the 20th century.
Yes.
Joyce's masterpiece, Ulysses, is ranked among the greatest works in the English language.
It is. And he did another piece of work called Finnegan's Wake, which is a ridiculous, it's so difficult to read because it's kind of like this weird language, and it starts the way it ends. And I was part of a club, a Finnegan's Wake club, and every week we would get together and we would read like 2 pages, because that's, try to decipher it.
It was that difficult.
Yeah, it was that difficult. Wow. Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah.
But Ulysses,
man, and where was this club?
It was at the college.
Oh, it was a specific. What was it? A specific Finnegan?
It was the Finnegan's Wake reading club, and we read like 2 pages or 3 pages a week, and we tried to decipher it based on the language and whatnot. It's very.
I feel like I would have forgotten what I read the previous week if I came in.
Yeah.
That must have been difficult.
Yeah, check it out. Check out Finnegan's Wake if you want.
There you go, Finnegan's Wake.
If you can understand it.
I'm sure we have it here at the library.
I'm sure we do.
All right, here we go. Another first, January 13th, 1990. Kind of weird that this is the first.
Okay.
That it took that long.
Yes.
Douglas Wilder of Virginia became the first African-American governor in the U.S. as he took the oath of office in Richmond.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's you know what I think it is that, like, now, today, that would seem ridiculous that it would take that long.
Right.
And
you would have thought, I mean, we had congressmen and senators that were African-American, and that was in like the late 1800s.
Exactly.
How did it take this long for a governor? It's crazy. January 14th, 1784, the Continental Congress ratifies the Treaty of Paris, ending the War for Independence. And in the document, it was known as the Second Treaty of Paris because the original Treaty of Paris was the one that ended the 7 Years' War in 1763. So that's why it's the second one. Yeah. But in the document, Britain officially agreed to recognize the independence of its 13 former colonies as the new United States of America.
The new USA.
America. All right. This one I kind of put as January 14th, to 23rd, but for all intents and purposes, President Franklin Roosevelt and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill met at Casablanca in Morocco to work on strategy during World War II. At the conclusion of the conference, Roosevelt and Churchill held a joint news conference at which Roosevelt surprisingly announced that peace would come by the total elimination of German and Japanese war power. That meant unconditional surrender of Germany, Italy, and Japan. And Roosevelt became the first president to travel on official business by an airplane. Isn't that something?
Interesting. What year was that?
That was 1943.
Wow. Did they do that at Rick's American Cafe?
What?
No. He's too young to get that joke.
I don't know that one.
If you're listening or watching and you got that joke, please comment below.
Now I got to look that up after. So crossing the Atlantic by air, he flew in a Boeing 314 flying boat.
Wow.
Dubbed the Dixie Clipper.
Yes, and you know it's old because it's Boeing and it's the number 3.
Wow. Oh, right? Oh, that's interesting.
314, not 707 or something.
That's something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's fast forward. January 14th, 1954. Marilyn Monroe marries...
Joe DiMaggio?
Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, wow.
Joltin' Joe.
Joltin' Joe.
Yeah, or as Seinfeld called him, Dunkin' Joe.
Seinfeld always comes into our episodes.
It has
Somehow it does, yeah.
It's just up there. January 15th, 1870, the first use of a donkey to symbolize the Democratic Party in America appeared in a cartoon in Harper's Weekly.
That's interesting.
Criticizing former Secretary of War Edwin Stanton with the caption, "A live jackass kicking a dead lion."
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So it's derogatory?
I guess, but then they kind of kept it as...
Why'd you keep it?
Yeah, we don't really get that. I just report. I don't understand sometimes. But and then, of course, January 15th, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. is born. And, of course, that is commemorated every year with Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
That's right.
January 15th, 1968, 87-year-old Jeanette Rankin leads 5,000 women nicknamed the Jeanette Rankin Brigade in a march in Washington, D.C. against the Vietnam War. The march is a capstone of Rankin's long career as a suffragist, pacifist, and the first woman elected to Congress. I believe, if I'm not wrong, I think she was the one that voted against World War I.
Do the war. We've mentioned her before.
Yeah, and against World War II.
She comes up a lot. And have we done a History Bites?
We have.
Yes.
There is a History Bites.
So there is a History Bites. So yeah, definitely check out the History Bites on the YouTube page.
Yes.
Channel.
So yeah, she was an important one. All right, January 15th of 1973, Golda Meir became the first Israeli prime minister to visit the Pope.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
There you go.
January 15th, 2001. You're going to like that one.
Okay.
Wikipedia launches.
There's the Wikipedia.
What would we do without Wikipedia?
Oh, don't say that.
No, I'm joking. It's really useful for just like a quick search. And then, of course, you want to verify the things you're reading in there. But yeah.
So it's interesting you should bring this up because we've gotten to the point now where when I use Siri, I can ask it a question now in the car. I do that a lot in the car, like when you're driving and you think, oh, what year did this song come out? Or what does this mean? Or what's the brightest star in the sky tonight that I see? And it asks you now if you want to use, it says, this answer is from Wikipedia, like after an answer. Okay. Or it says, do you want to use ChatGPT to answer this?
Oh my goodness.
Answer this question? And I've been using ChatGPT. So Wikipedia is great for what it is. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with an open source encyclopedia,
anyone can write anything.
Anything.
So be wary of Wikipedia.
Yes.
I don't know if I should.
And when you come to the library, and you should know this for anything, Google search, all that kind of stuff. When you come to the library and you speak to one of us as librarians, and completely serious. You're really getting really quality information because we do not use Wikipedia. We do not use Google.
No. So you are getting
some good stuff.
Legit information.
Yes.
All right. And then this is one of my favorites. And I can't believe this is 16 years ago now.
Oh, my goodness.
January 15th, 2009, a potential disaster turns into a heroic display of skill and composure when Captain Chesley Burnett Sullenberger III safely lands the plane when he was piloting on New York City's Hudson River after a bird strike caused its engines to fail.
How many years ago was this?
That was 16
years ago.
That's wild.
It is wild.
I can't believe that. David Patterson, governor of New York at the time, dubbed the incident as the Miracle on the Hudson.
That's right.
Yep.
And it's interesting because when I love aviation. I'm sure some of you who've watched or listened know that I'm into Disney and airplanes. I happened to be on a Disney cruise that day.
Wow.
And we got Channel 7 ABC on the ship. And I remember going to bed that night and going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I kind of missed this, because right now I'd be like on the internet, I'd be looking things up and, checking it out and everything like that. But but I remember it was then. Because just watching that video of the people on the wing, was just remarkable.
It's insane when you think about it.
And that guy is like cool as a cucumber.
Wow, imagine
you
that,
hear him speak, and he's just like, let's do it.
That's the kind of pilot you want.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see the movie?
I did.
with Tom Hanks, because I only see that scene on YouTube. That scene shows up in my feed, but he played it pretty well too.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I think I saw it like once, whenever it came out, but. It was a good movie. I would say recommend it.
And I do believe that plane is in either a museum or at a school where they teach
is it?
airline safety and whatnot.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. The video afterwards, by the way, too, which is kind of crazy. So they got most of the people off the plane, but if you watch the video, because of the current of the river, like you can literally see the plane just like kind of floating down, and they finally grabbed it and they pulled it out. They pulled it over. It's just amazing.
It really,
it is a miracle. It is a miracle.
Literally a miracle.
A miracle, and obviously the miracle that is Sully, who was able to make those decisions. And if you read the National Transportation Safety Board report on it, and actually, very important, look at the timestamps. And look at how much time they had between engine failure and decision to ditch and actual ditching. Look at that time, and then think about what you do in the morning. Think about what you do at work. Think about driving to work. How much time certain things take, and think about what this man did, what this crew did to get that plane down.
The immense responsibility he had,
and not hit the George Washington Bridge or one of the bridges. Yeah. Not hit it.
That's unbelievable.
Amazing.
We salute you.
We salute you,
Chesley.
There you go.
Let's see. January 16th, 1919, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution prohibiting the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors for beverage purposes is ratified by the requisite number of states on January 16th, 1919.
Prohibition, my friends. Yep. Prohibition.
And of course, that would last until, 1933 with the repeal.
People were still drinking in between 19 and 33.
I mean, you had bootleggers and all that stuff.
It was kind of silly.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah, but that was the date it was ratified.
It was ratified that day.
All right, January 16th, 1945, Adolf Hitler takes to his underground bunker, where he remains for 105 days until he died by suicide. Yep. He retired after deciding to remain in Berlin for the last siege of the war. He was 55 feet under the Chancellery, which was Hitler's headquarters. The shelter contained, this is crazy, 18 small rooms, and was fully self-sufficient with its own water and electrical supply. He left rarely, only once, to decorate a squadron of Hitler Youth, and spent most of his time micromanaging what was left of German defenses, and entertaining Nazi colleagues like Hermann Göring, Heinrich Himmler, and this one I'm going to butcher, but Joachim von Ribbentrop.
Okay.
I don't know what I just said there. And of course, by his side was Eva Braun, and what is an Alsatian? Do you know what an Alsatian is?
I don't know.
Named Blondie. I don't know what that is.
A dog.
That's a dog?
Right, a dog? Well, let me see.
Alsatian?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh.
Maybe. Right. And his, I don't know.
I would think a dog.
Some sort of pet. I can't imagine it's like, his head of security called Blondie.
Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Or whatnot. Wow. Yeah. So that was this week.
Yeah, 1945. Wow. And of course, he took his life end of April. So
so he was there for a long time.
Over 3 months. Yeah.
Movie suggestion. I don't know if we have it here. It's a foreign film, but it's called Downfall with Bruno Ganz is the actor who plays Hitler in that movie. Very interesting if you want to see The Last Days.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's very...
Is it a new one or is it...
No, it's an older film. It's an older film. But look up Downfall and take a look at that.
A wealth of information this man is.
A wealth. Useless, but it's information nonetheless.
Well, it's good stuff. All right, January 16th, 1970, Muammar al-Gaddafi, the young Libyan army captain who deposed King Idris in September 1969, is proclaimed premier of Libya by the so-called General People's Congress. His government financed a wide variety of terrorist groups worldwide, from Palestinian guerrillas and Philippine Muslim rebels to the Irish Republican Army. During the 80s, he was blamed... he was blamed for numerous terrorist attacks in Europe. And in April 1986, U.S. warplanes bombed Tripoli in retaliation for the bombing of a West German dance hall. Gaddafi was reportedly injured and his infant daughter killed in that attack. And in February of 2011, as unrest spread throughout much of the Arab world, Libya was attacked, and eventually he was taken down.
He was taken down. Yeah.
Yep. So that was that was January 16th, 1970.
1970.
Here we go. January 16th, 1979. The Shah of Iran departed his country amid mass demonstrations and the revolt of Islamic fundamentalists led by Ayatollah Khomeini. The Shah had ruled Iran since 1941 and had unsuccessfully attempted to westernize its culture.
Yeah,
so that was 1979.
Man, we've said this before because it's been on a number of the history episodes. Is to imagine what Iran would look like today if that had not, if that had worked out for him. Yeah,
could have been totally different.
Yep.
January 16th, 1991. This is when the Allied air raid began. Allied aircraft conducted a major raid against Iraqi air defenses. The air raid on Baghdad was broadcast live to a global audience by CNN correspondents as Operation Desert Shield became Desert Storm.
And this was the first time, I think, that a war was like live, right? I mean, that never happened with the Vietnam War, never Korean War, obviously. But yeah, the first time it was live.
Great movie that depicts that live from Baghdad with Michael Keaton.
Interesting.
It came out around like 2002.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good movie with Michael Keaton, and he plays like the main reporter or the producer of the show, I think it was. But very, very good movie.
Yeah, things happened in quick succession as the week progressed. You had that, and there was a lot of so the air raid started, and then when was ground troops? That was not far.
I think that was in February, actually.
Still relatively, though.
But that was only like 3 days or something.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, it was over very, very quickly. I remember
at that point.
Yeah. Let's see. It's January 17th, 1912. Robert Falcon Scott, I love that name, reaches the South Pole. He began his first Antarctic expedition in 1901 aboard the Discovery. During 3 years of exploration, he discovered the Edward VII Peninsula and surveyed the coast of Victoria Land, which were both areas of Antarctica on the Ross Sea.
Yeah.
And led limited expeditions into the continent itself. In 1911, Scott and another explorer named Amundsen, are you familiar with that fellow?
No.
And I guess I don't have the information on him. I apologize. But they began like an undeclared race to the South Pole.
Oh.
And on December 14th, 1911, Amundsen's, that's a tough one, his expedition actually won the race to the pole.
Got there.
And I guess Scott didn't realize that until he finally got there. So
that was been funny. It's like, woo, we won. And the guy comes out from the tent. It's like, hey, what took you so long?
Imagine being the second guy. Yeah. Oh my God. All that work for nothing. Let's see. So on January 17th, when they reached the pole, of course, Amundsen had preceded them. Weather on the return journey was exceptionally bad. 2 members perished.
Oh my goodness.
And Scott and the other 2 survivors were trapped in their tent by a storm only 11 miles from their base camp.
Oh my goodness.
A search party discovered their frozen bodies 8 months later. And in his final journal entry, Scott wrote, We shall stick it out to the end, but we are getting weaker, of course, and the end cannot be far. It seems like a pity, but I do not think I can write more. For God's sake, look after our people.
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that sad?
That is sad.
That's terrible.
Wow.
Let's move on to happier stuff, shall we?
Okay, yes.
Let's do that.
Yes.
January 17th, 1916, the PGA is formed.
The PGA.
That October, the first annual PGA championship took place at the Sewanoi Country Club in Bronxville, New York.
Oh, wow.
If I said that right, I'm not sure. James M. Barnes defeated Jock Hutchinson in the championship match, taking home the trophy and a purse of $2,580.
Nice.
Let's see. January 17th, 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower ends his presidential term by warning the nation about the increasing power of...
The Soviet Union.
No, the military-industrial complex.
Oh, that's right. That's his military-industrial complex speech.
Yep. And let's see, his remarks issued during a televised farewell address were particularly significant since Ike had famously served the nation as military commander of the Allied forces during World War II.
Yeah.
He urged his successors to strike a balance between a strong national defense and diplomacy in dealing with the Soviet Union. He did not suggest arms reduction and, in fact, acknowledged that the bomb was an effective deterrent to nuclear war. However, cognizant that America's peacetime defense policy had changed drastically since his military career, he expressed concerns about the growing influence of the military industrial complex.
Yeah, it's like all that stuff that I did in the military industrial complex.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I mean, it was good when I did it, but now might be getting out of hand.
We're not going to do it now.
Might be getting a little out of hand.
So let's see. What else we got? Now we're up to January 18th.
January 18th.
All right. January 18th, 1803, Thomas Jefferson requests funding from Congress to finance the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Oh, okay.
He officially asked for $2,500 in funding, but it looks like it eventually cost closer to $50,000.
Which back then
was a lot of money. Let's see. January 18th, 1862, President John Tyler died. January 18th, 1919, in Paris, France, some of the most powerful people in the world meet to begin the long, complicated negotiations that would officially mark the end of World War I.
Okay.
So that would eventually come, I guess, later that year. No, that was 1918.
1919.
November 11th, 1919?
Yeah, I think it's 1919. I don't think it was 1920 that it ended. I think it was before that.
No, I'm trying to think, was it November of 18 when the treaty came? I guess it would have been November of 19. So I guess it took them that long to negotiate.
They didn't have email back then.
Also, January 18th, 1958, hockey player, I have to throw hockey in.
Okay.
Willie O'Ree of the Boston Bruins takes to the ice for a game against the Montreal Canadiens, becoming the first black player to play in the National Hockey League.
Nice.
Yep. And I threw this in there because I know his birthday, January 18th, 1961. The captain, Mark Messier, was born. The man who led the Rangers to the Cup in 94.
Mark Messier.
January 18th, 1996, MLB owners approve interleague play, which I very vividly remember watching in 1997.
Wow.
Yankees, Mets.
Wow, that's right. That was a different thing.
It was like the coolest thing ever. January 6th, I'm sorry, before we get to the last one.
Yeah.
January 18th, 2018.
2018.
My good boy Pucky, my dog, was born. I had to throw that in there.
Had to throw it in.
Love that boy. So let's move on now to January. I'm sorry, I had to. All right, January 19th, 1966, Indira Gandhi was elected Prime Minister of India in succession to Lal Shastri, who had died 8 days earlier. She served until 1975 and later from 80 to 84 when she was assassinated by her own bodyguards as she walked into her office. Her only surviving son, Rajiv, became the next Prime Minister, and in 1991, he was assassinated while campaigning for re-election. Yeah, very sad.
Very sad. But, I think I said this before. A lot of things happen in parallel.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
You know, like the end of the Continental Congress, the end of...
World War I.
No, the end of World War I, that happened. So yeah, things happen.
And then you had the last few months of World War II that were coming up. So it's kind of weird how it all
if we put it on a big map and looked at it maybe from far away, maybe it draws like this really scary picture.
Yes.
Or something maybe great. We don't know.
Maybe these are the good months when things come to a close. Maybe that's what it is.
Yes. It's like, you know
when
what?
When things you don't want come to a close.
It's too damn cold. I don't want to do this anymore. Let's just call it a day, all right? Well, thank you, Jimmy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For once again enlightening us with another
This Week in History.
And if you want to see older This Week in Histories, we have a bunch of them, actually. You should visit our website, mcplpodcast.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little search box. Type in This Week in History, and you'll see all of our choices for This Week in History. Some of them are still audio, because it was before we did video, and the video ones will be on our YouTube page, so you could do the same thing. Go to our channel, go to the search box, This Week in History, and you'll see all the video ones too, which we tend to we do a little extra for those. We show some, obviously you saw, if you were watching today, some pictures of stuff, what we talked about.
Give you some context.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you again. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, hit subscribe. We'd love that. And you know what? Turn on the notification bell. So this way you know when we have a new episode, when we have Jim down for a history episode. So thank you so much for joining us. For Jim Ward, I'm Sal DiVincenzo. See you on the next show.